Hello, welcome back. So we were in the middle of a discussion, right? We were discussing about the different duties of layers in OISA reference model, and we have seen the duties of bottommost two layers, those for physical layer and data link layer, right? So today let us start from the third layer, that is network layer. Okay, so the network layer is responsible for the delivery of individual packets from the source host to the destination host. Okay, you remember the position of network layer, right? It is in between the transport layer and data link layer, and the data unit managed by this transport layer is called transport protocol data unit, TPDU, right? It is passed on to this network layer, then that will be treated as a data part here, and a header part will be attached by the network layer to form a packet, and this packet will be forwarded to data link layer in the sender machine. And at the receiver side, the reverse is happening, right? It receives a packet from the data link layer, remove the header part from this, and the data part will be forwarded to the transport layer. Okay, and as we said, this network layer is responsible for the delivery of individual packets from the source host to the destination host. So in case of a data link layer, it is responsible for hop to hop delivery, right? That is in between two different nodes, which is directly connected using a link. The communication is done in a reliable way by the data link layer. It is never bothered about the sender machine or the receiver machine. Whatever it receives, it will just forward successfully to the next node. It should be done in an efficient and reliable way. That's all about the data link layer. Whereas the network layer is not like that. It is bothered about the sender. The starting from the starting point, this packet should be forwarded successfully to the destination host. That is the duty of this network layer. So from the name itself, we can see that the main duty of this network layer is networking, routing the packet over the network to reach the proper destination. Okay, and one more thing is it is bothered about the individual packets alone, not about the entire message. See, the user may send a long file or send a long message, right? And the network may not be able to handle the entire message as a single unit. So what the transport layer will do is it will cut or divide this entire message into different parts, and individual parts can be handled by the network. So there can be some protocols based on which the length of the or size of the data unit can be decided. Based on that, the user's message will be cut short into or divided into a set of data units. Okay, and each unit will be forwarded independently. So the duty of this network layer is to just forward or route the individual packet successfully to the destination, and it is a higher layer which combine all the units belonging to the same message together to form a single unit to provide to the user. Okay, so this is how the network layer is organized. So source to destination delivery of individual packet is the main functionality of this network layer, and of course we know that if two systems are connected to the same link, then there is no need of a network layer, right? If these two systems are the two endpoints of the same link, nor need of a routing decisions and all, right? Immediately we can send the corresponding over the link. So that can be done by the data link layer itself, no need of a router or network layer. Okay, and if the two systems are attached to two different networks with connecting devices between the networks, then there is often a need for a network layer to accomplish a source to destination delivery. Definitely some intelligent decisions should be taken across which network we have to travel, or which is the proper route for this data to reach the corresponding destination efficiently. So many decisions have to be taken to route the data properly. In that case, we have to use the network layer. So let us take an example. We have already seen this example. We have a sender machine A and a receiver machine F. Okay, and we have to send some data from A to F. And in case of a data link layer, it is always bothered about hop to hop delivery. That is, at the sender machine A, This data link layer is bothered about how to transmit data to B in a reliable manner. That's all about the data link layer, whereas the network layer here is bothered about how to route this data to F. For that, which intermediate node should be selected? Here only one choice, that is B. So definitely the network layer also address B, right? And let us take the case of B, router B. Okay, the network layer here will decide on what is the network address or what is the destination address, and based on that it will decide upon I have two outgoing interfaces, into which interface I have to forward this incoming packet. Okay, so based on the address of F, it will choose this link. So definitely some data will be recorded in this routers and all. Some tables will be there for each destination address, or for each machine, or for each network, which outgoing interface will be chosen. Okay, and referring that table, some decision will be taken by this routers, network layer of this router, and the data will be forwarded to this link. Okay, so that is how this source to destination delivery is done by the network layer. Okay, so other than this source to destination routing, some other duties are also there for the network layer. One is logical addressing. As you know, the logical address is the address assigned to each and every machine in a network, right? Just for example, in case of internet, IP address is the logical address by which we can easily identify the position or location of a network. Okay, so we can see an example of some sort of information about this IP address and all. And the second functionality is routing the corresponding packet to the corresponding destination. And third one is congestion control. Okay, so start from logical addressing. So every packet, this data link layer receives a data unit or TPDU from the transport layer, and it will attach a header part, right? This header part contains two information majorly: the IP address of the sender machine and the IP address of the destination machine. Okay, these two information will be embedded in the header part. Some other information also will be there. So these are also part of this header part. Okay, so if we are taking the case of internet, the IP address, we have two different schemes of addressing, right? IP version 4 is there, IP version 6 is there. Let us take the case of IP version 4. Okay, all these things we will cover later. For just an idea, I will give you some introduction to this addressing. That's all. Okay, so don't be too much confused about this addressing. We will see all those things in very much detail in coming chapters. Okay, so logical addressing, we are taking the case of IP version 4, 32-bit addressing scheme, and we have two different types of addressing schemes used. One is classful addressing and classless addressing. So let us take the case of IP version 4 and classful addressing. Okay, in classful addressing, we have 5 different classes of addresses. Okay, so we can start from class A addresses. Class A, the highermost bit is always 0, and the next 7 bits indicates the network ID. Okay, and the last 24 bits indicates the host ID. So you can guess how many networks can be there, and within each network how many computers can be there. So 7 bits indicates a network ID, means 2 raised to 7 different networks are possible, and within each network we can have 2 raised to 24 different computers connected, right? So we can use this type of class A addressing for very large networks, small number of very large networks, right? Because 2 raised to 24 computers can be there in a single network. Like that, 2 raised to 7 different networks can be there. Whereas we take the case of class B addressing scheme, the highermost 2 bits are always 10. Okay, and the next 14 bits are for network ID, and the next 16 bits are for host ID. So we can choose this type of class B addressing scheme for medium sized network, because we can have 2 raised to 14 different networks, and each network can have 2 raised to 16 different computers connected to it, and this is the most popular one used. And for small network, we can use the class A addressing scheme, in which we can have 2 raised to 21 bits for the network ID and 8 bits for the host ID. And the highermost 3 bits will be 110. So we can have 2 raised to 21 different networks, and within each network we can have 2 raised to 8 different computers. So this scheme is used for very small networks. Okay, and class D and class E are different categories. Class D is for multicasting, that is if you want to send the same message to multiple computers simultaneously, we can use this type of addressing schemes. And class E is always reserved, this is not assigned to any type of networks. So this is logical address. Okay, so the IP address or the logical address of the sender and the receiver will be attached to each and every packet by the network layer. Now the next functionality is routing. So if the sender and the receiver are in two different networks, definitely some decision should be taken to find the route, right? So for that, routing is done. So let us take the case of intermediate nodes. Those are routers. Okay. So let us take this case. We have an incoming packet here, and this router is having 3 outgoing links. So this incoming packet should be forwarded to one of this outgoing link. Which should be the outgoing link? For this, it should decide upon the destination machine, right? Based on the destination machine's address, it will choose the corresponding link. So every router will store some information regarding this routing. Okay. So like just for example here, the header values are stored. So based on the information available in the header of the received packet, it can choose the appropriate link, because this header part contains the destination address, right? So destination address decides the outgoing link. So that will be updated here every router using some routing algorithm. So here just for example, if the header value is 0100, definitely it reflects the destination address. Okay, and if so, the corresponding output link to be forwarded is 3. Okay, and if the corresponding header value is 0101, 2 should be selected as the outgoing link. Like this, information will be stored in the table. Based on that, each incoming packet will be forwarded accordingly. And this table will be updated by routing algorithms. We will see all these routing algorithms later. Okay, so this is the second functionality, and the next functionality is congestion control. So as the name indicates, congestion means some heavy traffic in the network, which definitely creates some performance issues, like it slows down the network performance or network response time. Okay, these two pictures can easily represent this type of congestion in a network. So first case, we can compare the flow of water through this funnel as the flow of packets through this link. Okay, and this bucket can be compared with the buffer in the receiver. It can be either in the end machine or it can be in a router. Okay, the buffer to store these packets, intermediate storage. So in this case, we can see that the channel have a good capacity to transfer these packets, but the receiver buffer is a limited capacity. So what happens is, if there is a heavy flow of traffic, then this buffer will be overflowed, some of the packets will be lost, right? That is one case. And the second case, we can see that the channel capacity is low. Even though we have a very good capacity for the buffer, receiver buffer, our channel capacity is very low to communicate. So what happens is, if there is a heavy flow, here itself some of the packets will be lost, right? At the channel itself, the data will be lost. Okay, so in both of the case, that will affect the performance of the network. So the network layer will handle this congestion by doing some techniques, either to prevent this type of congestion or to find out there is congestion and then solve this congestion problem. Okay, detect and correct. So different techniques are there. We can see all those techniques later. So these are the functions of a network layer. The remaining layers we can see in next lectures. Thank you.